Man, I'm not an American, but the little Americanism that I know is that when I read something like a government of the people, by the people, from New York Times, it's almost like something is missing there. It's almost like an incomplete poem. Like that, there was something that I just, for the people. Oh, for the people. Yeah, well, who cares about for the people? It should be a government of the people, by the people, for the rich. And by the rich, I mean corporations, because now it seems that if corporations don't take a political stance, if they don't have political opinions, they're getting named and shamed in the New York Times, which issued a list of names from CEOs that did the naughty by not signing a highly political list that the multimillionaire for-profit corporation, the New York Times, cares deeply about. No, apparently, like, I found out from the New York Times that Romania is doing voting suppression. Like, I didn't know that. Until New York Times opened my eyes. Like, apparently by asking people ID to vote, that is voting suppression. I mean, the communists in my country are the ones that implemented this, but I guess now I need to advocate for the Romanian government to just allow people to vote. It's also fascinating that the New York Times considers IDs racist because, no, like, this is big brain logic, okay? Poor people can't afford it, and stereotypically, according to the New York Times, there is an overlap between poor people and minorities, and because of that, minorities are being excluded. Ah, I see. So if ID is racist, wouldn't you campaign to eliminate it entirely from society, or is it like only voting that matters? Now, I also see the hot take that certain politicians and journalists have now and then about COVID passports, right? So you get vaccinated, and then you show papers to prove that you have been vaccinated. It's not something that is sticking right now, but like it's being passed around, right? Wouldn't that be racist? Like, don't you need to show some form of identification in order for that passport to be created? Like, if I go to take a vaccine and they need to give me proof that I've took it, don't I need to show something which correlates to my name? Or can I just go there and give whatever name I want, and then whatever person that happens to have the same name can also use my passport? How does it work? Like, okay, if $20 to create an ID is too much for people to purchase, then wouldn't it mean that any company that has a product more than the cost of an ID be exclusionary by default and thus racist? Like, for example, Warhammer 40k selling figurines more than $20. They can't say they're an inclusive company, okay? I mean, they're a private company, they can do whatever they want, but you can't put the price higher than that of an ID because you're excluding people. Now, obviously, it's not as important as excluding them from their right to vote, heaven forbid. But, like, I'm just saying that you're not an inclusive company because people can't buy your product. Like, oh, there's an overlap between poverty and money. Oh, how much does the New York Times cost? Don't they have a subscription? So they're exclusionary because they got a subscription. You can't read their articles unless you sign up, and you need to pay money. How can people who can't afford an ID afford an internet connection and then afford to pay the subscription for the New York Times? What are you doing there? You know, I actually thought, like, why do they care so much about putting your name on a list? Because it's an interesting question, right? Like, why would they want every single company to put their name on a list? What's the point? And there is actually a psychological reason for this, believe it or not. When I was a kid, I don't know if you guys remember, because a lot of you guys are younglings, but when I was a kid, there was this PR stunt that a lot of companies used to do. So let's say you had Big Dragon company, right? And Big Dragon would say, we're going to give $10,000 to the person that writes the most beautiful message about why they love Big Dragon. And everyone would start writing, scribble, scribble, scribble. And they would send to the company, and the company would choose a winner, and that winner would have, like, their message being displayed either in the newspaper or at the company HQ, and the person would get $10,000. And you wonder, it's like, why would they do that? Like, what's the point? Like, why not just spend the money for an actual advertisement? Like, why would they give so much money away to the public? And the reason for this is that usually tens of thousands of people would compete into these, like, wanting to win the big prize. And when you scribble down, like, the things that you like about the company, you kind of internalize that in a way, because people don't want to lie. People want to be truthful. So when you put it in paper, you then get more of an affection towards that company than if you wouldn't put it on paper. So that's the point, like this is why they want companies to take a stand on politics, because once you take that stand, and let's say you get like a person in your company that isn't on the same political line like the CEO, then they can get fired because they can be like, oh, why are you against the company values? Why are you against corporate values? Because now you see the world they want to create, because this is what pisses me off the most, all right? Like they talk about democracy and they talk about all of this shit. No, like the thing that pisses me off the most is that they legitimately believe that when you get employed by a company, the corporation should own your soul. Like the corporation should own your mind, the corporation should own your speech, the corporation should own everything, not just your labor, okay? It's not just the labor that you go there and you go to work, you perform a job, and then you come home and you're at fucking home and you have a private life. No. You see, the personal is now political. So yes, the company owns everything you do. If you go on social media and you support one of these Georgian Republicans, evil politicians that are passing this legislation, oh, now you're against the company values, aren't you? It's literally the same shit of why any company that's not expressly right-wing becomes left-wing over time. Because if you're a company that's expressly right-wing and you have some twat coming there and it's like, hey, let's seize the means of production, you're like, Tovarish, do you not see what our company stands for? We're a right-wing company. Fuck off. Nazis, get out. Out! Like that's the mentality of it. So that's why they want people to put their names on a list. Now, the question is, why is the New York Times having a hissy fit? Well, you see, certain corporations had the correct initiative. Right? And they talk about it. It's like, oh yeah, Google, Amazon, oh, they immediately stood against it. Okay. The problem is that companies like Coca-Cola also took a stand against it, and people democratically and in a very nice way told them to fuck off. How? By going to their competitor. All right? So instead of buying Coke, they bought Pepsi. And now Coke looked at the losses and they're like, oh shit, maybe we should have shut the fuck up. We as a company that does business with China, maybe we shouldn't lecture people about democracy. Maybe we as a corporation who requires people to show ID when going to our shareholder meeting shouldn't say that we're racist twats because of it. Because that's what they're saying, right? Like if the right wing had any sense, they would protest these corporations, not for the reasons you think, but exactly for the reasons they claim. It's like, okay, you care about democracy, why are you doing business with China? Oh, you care about IDs, why are you requiring IDs for people to travel to your airlines? Just go in front with pickets and be like, we stand against racism. And you have a guy going like, rah, 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 and everyone in the back, like that's how it should be done. Huh? Give them bad PR. But like, what am I talking about? Right-winger protesting. That's... When's the last time that happened though, huh? Oh, actually, I know when it's happened. When the truckers strike. Like when the truckers strike, immediately the politicians pee their pants. Like within 2 or 3 hours, the issues are being solved. But anyway, right, that's not what I even want to talk about. Like, I used to be the type of person that was get money out of politics. Now it seems like it's not even get the money into politics. No, it's now get the corporation into politics. Maybe you're going to have a system like we used to have in Europe, where only the rich people get to vote. Who cares what the little guy has to say? It's like, what does the CEO have to say? I mean, this is what really annoys me. That like leftists agree with this. They're like, oh yes, this is a major win for us or something. How is it a major win, man? Like you're banking the 1%. Like you are becoming the lapdog of the 1%. I don't even care about what this law is. All right, like there is a system which protects people from passing laws that are unconstitutional. Like you got the Supreme Court. You got like the judicial system, which makes sure that the laws aren't unconstitutional. That is the system. The founding fathers never said, you know what, like, we need another system of power in check. Like, what would that be? Corporations vetoing the law. Yes, if corporations veto the law, then you shouldn't pass. Like, what is this nonsense? Now, the reason the New York Times is foaming at the mouth is because, as I mentioned earlier, people democratically told these corporations to fuck off, right? Like, instead of buying Coke, they bought Pepsi. And now people freaked out. And it's like, oh my God, consumers have a choice. What is this fascist bullshit? Let's get all the corporations to sign. Every single one. So that when people go like, oh, I'm not going to buy Coca-Cola because it's too fucking woke. Well, look, Pepsi is woke as well. Like, what do we do? Oh, you gotta buy the soft drink, don't you? Like, it has to happen. So that is what they're doing. They want to yet again rob people of choice, because if every single company takes a stand, then there is no more alternative. Right? Because there are not that many. As you can see, like, the list isn't that big. Because there are not that many companies. Because most of the small business owners kind of went bankrupt during the pandemic, didn't they? So now you have more power concentrated in fewer and fewer companies, which get to call the shots. So you don't really need to control thousands or tens of thousands of CEOs. There's like 80 of them. And not to mention, like, if you're a small company and let's say you do business with a delivery company, and then the delivery company gets to say, oh yeah, but we noticed that you have a bad political take on this issue, so we're not going to deliver goods to you anymore. That is democracy now, isn't it? Yes, absolutely beautiful. What can I say? The leftist utopia. Like, I love how leftists are fortifying capitalism now. Like, making absolutely sure that corporations take a political stand and they own your body and soul once you get employed with them. I can only imagine how it's like when the Bank of America is going to become political. Yeah. And they're going to say, you know what, Bernie Sanders isn't really great for our bottom line, so we're going to make sure we're going to demonetize the Bernie Sanders supporters. Because why not? They're a private fucking company, right? They can do whatever they want. And then they can force other companies to sign a letter disavowing Bernie Sanders. And if you haven't signed it, well, maybe the New York Times should have a look into it, right? Is this how democracy should be done? And it's all to protect democracy. It's all to make sure that people have a right to vote, as long as they vote accordingly to the company that they work at. Because you can't vote against company policy. Now, of course you can, actually, because the CEO isn't there with you in the voting booth. Absolutely. But the opinions you say on the internet and you talk with other people, oh, you need to be very careful with that, because someone might hear. As they used to say in socialist Romania, the walls have ears. Yeah, now Alexa has ears. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section.